Hello guys, it's How the 200SX here, and today we are going to be doing the front calipers. We're just going to basically bleed these front calipers because my rear drum brakes don't really work, because the emergency brake doesn't work. That will be fixed when this gets manual swapped. But right now we're focusing on these front calipers. Now this rear passenger drum doesn't have its nipple on there anymore. Found that out when I tried just figuring I was gonna do a whole flush. This one does, however. But I figured since the e-brake doesn't even work, the car usually uses front brakes anyway, so we're gonna focus on those. Make sure those are bled out, because those are the ones that are actually used. First, you're gonna want to brake it with your breaker bar. I have anti-theft lug nuts. Not exactly anti-theft, but they're more anti-theft than a regular lug nut, I guess you could say. So if you do have those, you're going to need a socket. I recommend a 19 that would fit it in there. Obviously, we'll put it in there, loosen it, loosen it, loosen it, loosen it. Try to go in a pattern like an X. Don't go like this. Just go in a pattern like an X. You're going to put it, hand tighten it in when we put the wheel back on. And then we're going to use the impact and then the breaker bar as the correct way to do this. So I'm going to take this wheel off. I'll see you when we get to the caliper. Now just a tip. If you don't want to use your jack stands, the best thing you can do, put your tire under your car. Because you are going to be under your car, and the tire will stop it from falling on you. So it will also give you the chance to readjust your jack if you need be. So the nipple is right here. As you can see, that's very clean because it wasn't exposed to the elements. Now the caliper was. This caliper is still a little warm because I just had to drive to Harbor Freight to get some wrenches. You're going to see why. This is a very hard, I guess you could call it bleeder, to loosen, because it's a very specific wrench size, and I'm going to find that out and let you guys know. Okay, so the size is a 10. As you can see, it is loose. Now, if this is rusty, the best thing I can advise, use WD-40. Let it sit there for at least 5 minutes and let it soak in. Man, that hurt. When I pulled back, hit my knuckle off of this, of course, of all things. What the guy did back there was, I don't think he used WD-40, because those are rusted to shit, if you don't mind my language. So, as you can see, it is a 10 mil. It is not a 9, it is not a 9, it is a 10 mil. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to put this on here. Now, this is a self-bleeder kit. So basically what it does is, instead of having somebody else, you can use this and prevent you from needing someone else. So what you do is, first you're going to pop your hood. So now you popped your hood. You're going to go over here to your reservoir for your brake fluid. And you're going to look at it. As you can see, it's getting a little low, and it's a little dark, and it has some speckly shit in it. So we're going to get that out. This hasn't been changed for about 2 years. So we want to change this out, or at least bleed it out enough from the front brakes to get it out. So what you're going to do is, you're going to top it off with brake fluid. You're going to start sucking it out. I'll show you how to do that. Now, you don't have to use a funnel. I'm just using a funnel because I'm recording. You just want to top it off. Right there's good. It's actually a little bit over, but when I take this out, it should be fine. So we're going to leave this open. Set that like that. Now we're going to start sucking it out. So how you make this work? Well, let me get my cap on. Always make sure you put your caps back on your things. How this is going to work, what you do is, you got to make sure this is flat. I know this is a lot of steps. If you do have somebody else, it's better off just do this with somebody else. We're going to squeeze until this goes above 10. You're going to make sure that this stays flat. Make sure it's up against something because you do not want to get this in the pump. If it gets in the pump, it'll ruin it. Take your 10 mil, loosen it. As you can see, we're getting some fluid bleeding out. I need more suction. As you can see, it's coming out. Make sure it goes right into this reservoir. Of course, I decided to do this on a windy day. Just keep squeezing, 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 squeezing. Again, make sure that this fluid does not go over here. Cannot go over here. As you can see, we got some brake fluid in there. So we're successfully bleeding it. Doesn't look like there's that many air bubbles. There certainly is some air bubbles in here, though. So it does need to be bled. And when you loosen this nut, I should have mentioned this before. When you loosen this, make sure it is counterclockwise. You do not want to do righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It's got to be counterclockwise. Now we're going to go check on our reservoir. Okay, as you can see, it has gone down, but we could still keep pushing. So we want to keep going until there is nothing bubbly in here. It's got to be nice and straight. As you can see, there's bubbles in there. You don't want that. We're just going to make sure there's absolutely no bubbles in there. Man, there's a lot of bubbles in there. I'm not exactly a pro at doing this. I'm no Chris Fix, but I figured I would post more videos on this car when I worked on it. In case if there's anybody that needs an exact tutorial on how to do this stuff. As you can see, it's still feeding down in there. And we're still going down pretty low on our brake fluid. So we're just flushing this out the best we can. Obviously, if you want to do a full flush, you want to start back there, go over there, come then over here, and then do the driver's side. But since that is broken, and that's rusted to hell, I'm starting on this side because these are the brakes that are currently used right now anyways. Those aren't even used. Another thing that needs to get replaced is this. And her tie rod, which I do have the parts for. As you can see, it's not supposed to look like that. It's very flat. It's torn. It needs replaced, which it is going to be replaced. So, that will be replaced here soon. The pinion should be fine, though. I don't 100% know about that yet, but... Now, if this ever gets clogged, you can get in your car and just push the brake pedal like the other person usually would. As you can see, it is losing pressure because of it sucking stuff out. You just want to keep doing this until the reservoir goes down and you stop getting so many bubbles. I can still see some bubbles in there. See that bubble? There's still bubbles coming out. You don't want that. There you go, check. And we have gone down even lower. So these brakes definitely need to be done right this second, but I haven't done it for like 2 years. I believe the last person that did was my brother, but again, I don't think he touched the rear brakes at all. Just something you want to do whenever you change brake pads, or whenever you get bigger calipers or bigger brakes, or replace your rotors. It's probably a good idea, if you haven't done it recently, just to bleed your brakes, just to be safe, especially when you change new calipers. You see, that's our old. Shouldn't be looking like that. That's kind of old, obviously, because we want it. Oh shit. Fuck. Okay, none got in there. That's good. Because obviously we want it to look like this, nice and clear. That isn't clear. That looks like somebody who hasn't drank water in 3 years. I make sure that's back on there correctly. Now this isn't extremely loose. I could make it looser, so I don't want to pull the whole thing out, you know. We're just trying to get as much air out of here as possible. Then we're going to take a test drive, see how exactly good the brakes are afterwards. Check our reservoir again. As you see, we're getting pretty low in there. There's nothing up here anymore. There's still something in there, but not a lot. Go back over here. Continue what we were doing. So once it starts getting closer to empty, I'll unpause the video, and then I'll show you guys what happened. Now, I did just notice this when I looked at my reservoir here on the bleeder. You can see there's a little black particles floating around in there, and that's not good. You can also see all these air bubbles, also not good. So it's a good thing that we are doing at least half of a flush. Try to get that stuff out. There we are again, full here. What we're going to do is we are going to close this up. So again, opposite direction. Close her up. Take off that. Suck up the rest in there. Don't let it get to the other side. If it does, pull it off. There we go. Man, that hurt. Anyways, if it does get to the other side, just pull it off. You cannot let it get into this pump. So, what we're going to do next is we're going to take this plow. We're going to inspect it. So, looking in here, looks like there's some black floaty stuff going on in here. I don't know the correct stuff to it. It's like some sediment, as you can see in there. It's definitely discolored. It's definitely old. And we'll get back to the bleeding. We're going to go check our main reservoir over here in the car. As you can see, we're below, very below the max line. Like, we're down here. Max line's up here. So, we still got a little while to go here. I'm going to grab a towel, make sure that gets cleaned up, and I'll get back at it. Okay, so now I would say is a really good time to probably add some more brake fluid. So again, this is our old brake fluid. Doesn't look that good. I put it in a milk jug momentarily. So when this empties, I can actually take it to the auto parts store. So again, we're going to put the funnel in here only because I'm recording. So gonna be very precise here. Again, just add it up so it's overfilled. Not that overfilled, Jesus. So you see how that's nice and clear? Our old one is like orange, not really orange, but kind of a darkish yellow. You don't want it to look like that. That's old. Moving on to the new. I want to make sure that this is done correctly. So, I'll be back when we get done with this bleeding. As you can see, we're still going. Reservoir's still getting full. Still bubbles. Lots and lots of bubbles. Let's go back, check out the brake reservoir. As you can see, our bleeding's going pretty well because it's getting lower faster. So it's getting successfully bled out. I do definitely want to clean that up though, that mess I made. Let's just clean this up. Make sure nothing got covered in brake fluid. That would be kind of bad. Make sure that all electricals and everything is good. It's supposed to be on there. It's not even in the right spot. Oh, my arm. Jesus. There you go. This got doused in brake fluid as well. Make sure that gets cleaned off. Sure, all electricals get cleaned off. Mechanical should be fine, but as long as it's not any joints or anything. Okay. Keep a rag there. Now what we're going to do is once we get basically all of it gone, we're going to put the cap on and then bleed it out. It'll go a lot faster that way. But I just want to get all this old stuff out. So I want air to constantly keep pushing it down while I'm basically suctioning it up. That's something that's kind of neat. So as you can see here, it's getting darker and lighter. There's like a difference in darkness and lightness. As you can see there, that's good. That means we're almost done with this caliper. Now, I will say this, if you were absolutely by yourself, this is your best option. But if you do have a person, obviously this is going to go a lot faster. So you want to make sure that you just bleed this out till there's no more bubbles. Like as you can see there, there's another bubble. So I got to keep bleeding. As you can see there, that's our old brake fluid. Yes, I know it's not supposed to be in a milk jug, but I don't have the brake fluid container. So we're just going to have to keep it in here, make sure it doesn't eat it through, it shouldn't. And then when this is empty, we're going to take this to advanced or AutoZone. We're going to keep bleeding, and I'll see you there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is now that's going down faster, and it looks like most of this old stuff is gone. So we're going to put the lid back on. And now we're going to bleed it, and it should go faster in theory. Oh yeah. It seems to be going a lot faster now. At least from what I can see. We just want as much of this bled out as possible. I make sure there's no air bubbles coming from our cylinders. You can see that's really clear. Our caliper. There's little air bubbles, but as long as we get out the big ones. Not to mention, this looks a lot healthier than this. You see the difference? This is new. That's old. So you can see it better. That's old compared to new. Which is definitely good. So we're just gonna get this to the point where we can top it out. Make sure there's no air bubbles. That's why I closed off the top, to ensure that there's no big air bubbles coming out. And if there isn't, we'll move to the next caliper. So it looks like we're good. So we're gonna take this, top it off. Not full, but just to its normal height. There isn't going to be that much added. We're just going to put some in there. Not a lot, just a little bit. Put the lid back on. You do not want this all over in your engine bay. That's why I cleaned it up right after I see how much cleaner that is? So much cleaner. Put the lid back on. Now we're going to go to the other side and do that caliper. So see you there. Just a heads up. Best way to do this, make sure you tighten this up. You don't want this loose when you're driving down the road. That would be a very bad thing to have to deal with. I was going the wrong way. It's tight, don't make it too tight. It's not difficult the next time you have to do it. We're just gonna rest that on there. Check out any excess. Maybe in there. That's good. So now we'll move to the other side. Again, let's just take a quick second to admire how clean this is compared to what it originally was. This is a lot cleaner. It's going to be a better way to do this. Now I'm going to do the other side, and not going to be as detailed as it was with this side, but I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll do our little wrap up here. So now that we did the driver's side, now let's take it for a test drive. So don't mind that, that's just the crook release, that's not the brakes. There's another thing, if your brake light turns on, you have to manually pump it because of the master cylinder. It doesn't have fluid in it. Brakes aren't lagging. That's why I like to call brake lag, when your brakes like go dunk 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 dunk. Our brakes are braking right when they're supposed to. This is a great example. There's turkeys in the road. Obviously, you should never drive like this, but I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. All we're doing here is just listening for any inconsistencies when you hit your brakes, if there's a thumpy noise, if you accelerate. When you come to a hard stop, does it stop? Things like that. We're at a school right now. This is a great place to test it. So we're going to emergency stop right here. Stops right on a dime, right there. Exactly how it should. I'm not hearing any noises that are to be concerned of. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's how you bleed your brakes. Make sure your lug nuts are tightened correctly, and safe driving.